And moving on to our next session of the Fireside Chat, which is on India Can't Ignore Risk and Compliance, where we delve into critical importance of risk management and regulatory compliance in India's business landscape. For this Fireside Chat, our panelists are Gowdhaman Jothilingam, Global CISO Head IT LatentView Analytics, Neelesh Sinha, Head of Legal, Adani Digital Labs. Neelesh is a strategic leader offering a demonstrated history of spearheading entire legal operations, including litigation, management, contract negotiation, and management, as well as transaction advisory. And the session will be moderated by Dr. Pavan Duggal, Advocate, Supreme Court of India, and Chief Executive, Artificial Intelligence Law Hub. Dr. Duggal is the founder and chairman of International Commission on Cybersecurity Law. He's also the president of cyberlaws.net and has been working in the pioneering area of cyber law, cybersecurity law, and mobile law. Over to you, Dr. Pavan, and welcome all the guests.
Thank you. So there's this hospital in Delhi which charges you 1,000 rupees for your electronic registration. And you get your treatment done. And once you're moving out or at any time thereafter, you can come back and pay another 1,000 rupees and get your entire records, entire medical records on a pen drive. Except I don't need to be going there myself. I can send my munshi, my authorized representative, and he can collect my data. That's what has been going on for the last many years. Except now, suddenly, this entire hospital chain is in a tizzy. Why? Because some clients have now threatened legal action. Why? Because they are saying you are giving my personal data to somebody who just comes in and pays 1,000 rupees. Now that's one particular tip of the iceberg that I want us to focus on. It's not just a hospital, it's not just an entity. In India, if you are dealing with any of the 7 raw materials, that is, if you use computers, computer systems, computer networks, computer resources, communication devices, as also data and information in the electronic form, you have huge challenges, huge risks, and huge compliance opportunities and mandatory issues. So to discuss about that, I have a fantastic panel today evening. And the beauty is that while Gowdhaman is talking about the technical aspect, Neelesh is talking about the legal perspective. So let me begin from a technical angle. So Gowdhaman, what do you think? Is at all a cybersecurity a risk for the Indian corporates? And if so, how do we deal with this animal in the room? Over to you.
Great. Hey, thank you, Pavan. That's a great question. As he rightly said, cybersecurity is number one threat at this point in time. Whichever organization is dealing with digital enterprise and leading those initiatives, cybersecurity threat is going to be growing multifold. Now, that's being said, there are a lot more ways. We have got SOC, we have got SO, we have got enough solutions in the market at this point in time to tackle all those things, but then instance after instance keep happening. This is just my personal view. At the same time, I just want to be vocal on this one. When I interact with some of my peer group, right? Say for example, they have already faced incident. When they approach the top management for the funding, what happens is that they give enough budget, right? Whatever may be the case, go ahead and get this sorted out right now and get the business back in line, right? That's a norm which has been shown, or that's a trend which I could see. But then if you approach the same top management in a proactive manner, if you're going to be asking them, the funds are not released, they don't take it more serious. So I've been to understand how do we solve this kind of problem. I was trying to understand how could we go ahead and take it to a top management or board in a more simpler way so that they can understand, they can support it. That element is kind of missing at this point in time. So the one better way for everyone to understand is numbers. When you take to board, they understand about the risk, they understand about the business risk, absolutely. But then they don't understand about the cyber risk because they don't have, it's not their fault, they don't have equipped with the kind of knowledge, but it's our responsibility as a CISOs to go ahead and then present in the way that they understand it. So the only best language to talk to them is in terms of money and dollar value. What it can impact at this point in time. If you can derive that language and show to them what is it going to impact, which is going to cost in the business, then absolutely they're going to support it. That element is missing. So I thought of just sharing this experience. I've been working with a solution on cyber risk quantification. There can be many risks that your organization is facing right now, but if there is scope for you to digest and assimilate it, that will be really good. Someone sees a score day in, day out will be really good. Converting that score into a dollar value is something that is important, right? So I've been interestingly go through some of a standard called FAIR methodology, FAIR, Factor Analysis of Information Risk. This is a one methodology that talks about your scoring and then quantifying your risk. Absolutely perfect. And then we have deployed it using some of a security solutions market in the vendor. So we have been incorporating that. And successfully, I was able to present the board and tell them this is how it is. The best part of this is it gives a laundry list and a prioritization to tell to the board, this is my score. Say, for example, 120 million is the problem I have to focus on now. 60 million have already got it as a budget. Now the remaining, I don't have it. And then there is a part of insurance where we can also cover. Say, for example, 40. And then the remaining 20, I don't have a choice. Either you have to go for acceptable mode or you can give me additional budget. So those kind of things will really help you in to do it. This FAIR methodology really helps you to make them understand on this and get more budgets on this methodology. That's something which is important, Pavan, at this point in time. Most of my CISO group peer are missing this. I thought of just telling this so that it would be one important aspect to go to board and easily present it and then get the acknowledgement in dealing with these kind of issues.
Thank you. Go to board and tell them you can either go to jail or you can pay 250 rupees, crore rupees as small change. If you are happy with both of them, don't do anything on cybersecurity. Why? Because you don't report a cybersecurity breach, no problem. 6 hours pass by and you commit an offense, punishable with 1 year's imprisonment and fine. You have a cybersecurity breach, a data breach, and the government can potentially fine you 250 crore rupees per contravention. So supposing you have 4 contraventions, you have 1,000 crore rupees fine waiting to be imposed on you. Now, who will get that money? It will not be the complainant. It will be the government of India, the Consolidated Fund of India, where this money is going to go. And if you think you can't pay the money to the government, think again. Why? Because the government is going to recover it as arrears of land revenue. No problem. Attach your assets, go and sell your assets. So lo and behold, be prepared to shut down shop if you don't do compliances. But I think, is it all bungam or is it some actual sense in these compliances? Do we really need to do these compliances? Because I'm talking to so many people, Neelesh, in the industry, and people are saying, boss, elections have come, nothing to worry. No DPDP coming in, so we can sit back and relax. So do we really have to do compliances, or this is more a fear that's been put in the minds of the corporates?
Well, thank you all. Thank you for inviting. My name is Neelesh, and I have been heading Adani's Digital Labs legal team for quite a while now. Now, the challenge for me when I was appointed as a legal head was to make the promoters understand the importance of compliance and the specific compliance with respect to data. It was like a burning midnight oil for so many midnight oils in Ahmedabad, wherein making them conscious enough to understand, please, compliance is something which is very important and which is it should be the bedrock of each and every organization. So what Pavan sir was just pointing out, ki if one instance comes into 50 crores back down, you're fine. It doesn't reach. Well, a similar question was asked by one of my managing directors to me, ki Neelesh understood if there's a breach, there was fault in our system, there's a breach, we are liable to pay. But in case there's a breach, that breach data might have my data as well. So will I be getting a compensation out of that also? So I have no answer. So that who will get that money? I say government. So what will government do? I say government will obviously spend in the infrastructure and all. So then they say, okay, then it's like a recovery procedure by the government, and those people who are not so into the compliance or maybe not so conscious for data compliance, is like, Well, that's how the new data law is. Uh, Persons whose data gets breached, he will never be compensated. Now, coming from the compliance perspective, uh, not for the topmost organizations, the best organizations, but the middle layer ones. I think India is one of those countries where the middle layer companies are not so conscious upon their data compliances or any compliance perspective. Let's take example of all these startups at this point of time. Before switching out from my profession of practicing law and coming to Adani, I was also practicing law, and I was even part of the Startup India program by the government of India. So there are a lot of startups who um, used to consult with me, ki, Neelesh, this is what we are do. So I had a huge checklist for them that this is what compliance is. So they had only one common question answer for everything was कि मुझे बस आप बताओ कितना रुपया लोगे और मैं कितना में ये सब लिख जाएगा, बाकी आप compliance छोड़ो, compliance तो होता रहेगा, government नहीं देखती है. This was the common thing with all these startups. And in fact, till that time there was this Paytm bubble which bursted. All these startups, they still are in that mood. They were in that mode that compliance is least important. See, compliance is a cornerstone of a good governance practice in India. The organizations, it's not the requirement, it's a mandatory thing which they have to do it, because unless until you adhere to this regulatory compliance. I know the regulatory compliance are very complex in India, very, very complex in India. And it's very tough for me as well to make my company more compliant than any other. But one has to do it. We have no choice. And following the risk aspect involved. Well, it's simple. Like if you have to do it. Otherwise, be ready to shut out some 250 odd crores.
I think 250 crore rupees is no small change. So even the big companies, you can set aside some 250 crores, but not all the time. So the question is, whose neck is going to be on the axe? Will it be the CXO? Will it be the CIO? Will it be the DPO? Well, you have to have somebody who is going to be made the blame box.
Well, so, I have the answer. It's the CISO.
CISOs, of course, are riding on
the CISO.
volcano fire. So they are all prepared fully well, and they have to. A lot of companies are saying, "Hey, guys, CISO, let me save some of my money. You also become a DPO. So become a DPO plus a CISO. No problem. We'll keep on saving money." Without realizing that the law is now requiring a different mandate altogether. But a bigger question. Now, I can't predict when I'm going to be hit. But I'm going to be hit, it's pretty much certain. Now, in a scenario like this, from your side, Gowdhaman, what is the technical 3 things you want to tell us how I can keep myself, my corporates more safe from a technical standpoint before I get hit?
So, on the practical approach, whether you're going to be safe or not, you have to be prepared for the worst at this point in time, right? You can't be saying that I'm wearing a bulletproof and then no one can hit me. In this digital era, no one can challenge that, because whenever you try doing something, there are leaders on the other side of a story who can challenge you as well. The best part of is, at this point in time, we can think about, assume yourself that you got breached. Now, how do you go about it and make yourself bring the business as soon as possible? I have seen in the public news, okay, I'm not quoting anything which is not in the public, but then I'm just saying some of 2 important organizations which I've aspired, and then I've seen how fast they were able to bounce back, and resilience was there with them. One of them is Tata Motors. On Friday, they got hit, and by Monday, they got into the business, but within those 2 days, they were able to, whatever they have been publishing to the SEBI or certain, it was publicly available to everyone. They got a mindset of, first of all, letting others know that, yes, gut saying that I have got hit, now I'm correcting myself, and this is what I have done. And that kind of approach should be there at this point in time. So that if that is there, I think the resilience part has to be come back to this. It's not anymore about compliance aspect. It's kind of being prepared for the worst and facing it and just moving forward. Because we have seen almost most of the MNCs got affected. It doesn't mean that they don't have budgets. It doesn't mean they have got not really plugged the gap. Somewhere in the loop, there are a lot more things have to be plugged in. It's day in, day out, has to be monitored. I think at this point in time, this is the best approach that we can be doing it. Now, from ever since the morning, I've been hearing about quantum computing, different technologies. We can approach those things so that how can we go ahead and more proactive in nature. But I would still suggest a very honest manner. Be prepared for the worst, face it, and have the mindset to go ahead and raise your hands and say that I have got a problem that's been solved now. I'm updating the government, certainly without 6 hours, I'm compliant. I'm also now robust enough to bounce back and say that everything has been plucked from our end. That would be a best approach.
Fantastic. But please remember, last year we lost more than $6 trillion to cybersecurity breaches. By the end of this year, we should be losing more than $8 trillion to cybersecurity breaches. So Neelesh, if an event like this comes in and your board or your CXO level people says, Neelesh, go and do jugaad, don't do management. What will you do for compliances?
Well, India is always known for jugaad, right? And we don't fail to take out that jugaad. Well, as the legal officer, well, I have to find out. But before we get to that stage of jugaad, it's always to get your house in order, right? It's always required to get in order. In fact, all the in-house councils, the first oath which they take whenever they campaign is ki whatever happens, if the house get on fire, you are the firefighter. It's not, no one will come in. So what I always advise to my board is that ki before we see that situation, because in India or anywhere, you cannot keep your systems foolproof. It cannot happen. Technically, it cannot happen. It has to be. It will be breached sometime or down the other. Even though if you have X number of tools from the Googles or SAPs or any big tool vendors of the world, your system will be breached. But it's how you remediate it. That is more important. How much faster you can remediate your process, how much faster you can protect that wall so that the further damage could not happen. That is where, if at all, if you even show to certain that was, okay, I was breached for maybe an hour, but this was my remedial process and this is how I remedied my entire chain. I think that is where the companies in future will somehow try to play with certain and avoid this penalty in the data protection.
Fantastic. So bottom line is due diligence, care and caution. So many thousand years back when Mahabharata was being fought and when it was written, we had a very central message in Gita. Lord Krishna has one central message to Arjun when he says, hey Arjun, come to my Sharana and I will protect you. I think the similar message has come under the Information Technology Act. The IT Act tells you, hey guys, come inside my parameters, comply with my provisions, and I guarantee you two things. Number one, you can't be sent to jail. Number two, you cannot be forced to pay 1 rupee damages by way of compensation. And this is this particular comfort zone of statutory exemption from legal liability that I would want companies to come inside. Why? Because you just can't predict what's going to happen. But yes, if you can come and say, I've done my documented due diligence under Section 79(2)(c) of the IT Act, I've complied with the IT Rules 2021, then I'm entitled to my statutory exemption from legal liability. Incidentally, the law is mandating me to implement and maintain reasonable security practices and procedures, which is an ISO 27001. So you don't need to be certified as ISO 27001, even if you comply primarily with all the provisions. I think that's good enough. But clearly, it's a very, very gray zone. So the important beginning point of this entire legal exposure is that trigger, that email, that WhatsApp, that somebody generates in the company to somebody on hire saying, sir, we are breached. So what should be the correct approach, Gautam, from a technical standpoint? Should we generate these messages or should we still go on the traditional call rather than leaving by electronic footprints behind?
That said, I think this comes enhancing of a monitoring structure. I would suggest, be it a WhatsApp, be it any other social media platform. Now, companies' assets or company information is going beyond these as well. Now, that's when these new technologies kind of attack surface management, which comes into play, where you can understand what really happens about your organization in your deep web and dark web, where you and I will not be able to browse and check it, right? Someone is already scanning it, and then you should be having those kind of information or radar technology to understand what's happening about my organization in the deep world and dark web. So if you have got visibility on those things, yes, certainly you can go ahead and then protect your organization. Say, for example, someone has dumped a credential about your cloud infrastructure. They can very well go ahead and then attack your surface, attack your cloud environment, take into control and command and control center, and then they will take the data out. But before they could doing it, you should be in a position to understanding that one. That is number one. And then number two is, even if something happens like it, how do you go ahead and do it? Will you be in a position to do it on your own? Or there are partners that kind of a proactive IRR, incident response retainer plan. So you can always partner with them, assuming that something will happen. You can always go and get it on your, you can sign a contract with them. If something goes wrong today, there should be just one phone call away who can come and monitor your environment, and they can contain it and then ensure that the damage is not high, right? That's something just important. Otherwise, what happens is they penetrate in the organization. They have been silently sitting for 100 days without doing any action. And one fine day, the forensics come and say that they've been sitting in an environment for more than 300 odd days and you're not able to notify it. That becomes an insider threat. That's something just important, that basically you have to enhance your monitoring and then mechanism to enhance this. That's it.
Clearly, every electronic record that we generate within the company becomes an electronic evidence which can be used against you. So you need to be careful. So assuming there's somebody who's triggered off an email or a WhatsApp to the CISO saying, hey guys, I think we are breached. I think the 6-hour period starts from that particular point of time. If you don't comply within 6 hours of reporting, you automatically commit an offense. The law does not even give you that 6 hour and 1 minute more. Now, once you commit an offense, it's your luck. You can be prosecuted in the next 7 years by the government, or you may not be prosecuted. Or you'll get up some notice from some governmental department saying, by the way, your data is available on the dark net. We found it out. You've not reported. Would you mind show causing why action not to be taken against you? But Neelesh, my question to you is, should we just have paper compliances, or should we also implement those paper compliances? Or should we first do the paper compliances from a prima facie security perspective and then simultaneously keep on implementing it? What's your thoughts?
See, it's my personal view. Implementation should be the first rather than doing a paper compliance, because even if you do the compliance, paper compliance, you are not going to remediate the entire effect what will happen, right? Just give you a short example. Just a year back, in the ticket booking sector, there was a big company whose data was being breached for last 6 months. They were not aware. Suddenly, one guy from Afghanistan, he breached, and he wrote an email to the CEO of that company that, boss, your data isn't available on the dark web, and it's been available since last 6 months. And if you want, I can give you, and you can offer me some 100,000 pounds or something there. So there, the trigger was there, and that company, it took them 3 months to search where the data got breached, which all users' data got breached, where it went. They only informed a certain as per the requirements. They informed a certain, but till date, the remedial process, the implementation of what they did happened. And since we were in some contractual relationship with them, so we had to file a claim against them. But eventually, it got settled by at the pre-litigation stage. But the point was key. You should always go for implementation first, rather than doing the paper compliance. Paper compliance just for the regulatory purpose, but ultimately even the regulators want you to make your system foolproof. Right? That is what the intention of the regulator has always been. The penalties has always been, because unless there is a penal things attached to a compliance, you will never do it. Trust me, no one will do it. Till that time you have some penal thing in it. So that's what the implementation should be the first, rather than coupling the paper trail.
4 things I need to remember when I'm in the electronic ecosystem. Number 1, cyber security incident. Number 2, cyber security breach. Number 3, cyber incident. And number 4, personal data. These 4 things are like the molten lava of a volcano. You'll have to handle them with very care. The first 3 are the mandatory requirements. Whenever this happens, you have to report. The 4th is an even bigger molten wall of lava. Why? Because this is mandating you to put in various steps for compliances under the DPDP Act. The rules have not yet come in, but if as and when post-elections we see the rules, I don't expect much kind of a time being given to the corporate sector to get started. And the issues like notice and consent are going to be fundamental as we go forward. I think we still have about 6 minutes to go. I want to pause here and open it up for discussion. Any question that anyone would like to have in the audience pertaining to the panelists? Please, sir.
when we do the risk assessment, the CFO asks, "Koi jugaad hai kya?" We are giving them a problem areas. You have to work on these areas. You do the remedies on this, and then you get the insurance. So that's a problem in India.
So the question is to which panelist and how do you want to answer it? Please.
See, I can answer. See, जुगाड़ है क्या यहाँ जुगाड़ है पूरा है but that is not to be disclosed in the public forum obviously. जुगाड़ तो हमेशा रहता because India works on जुगाड़, right? But with respect to insurance sector, it's very important to understand the field that is specifically the data, right? India is going through a data war at this point of time. Each and every organization, be it small, be it large cap, mid cap, all want data. What they will do about data, they themselves don't know, but they will want the data. So, especially with respect to the insurance sector, it's very important to analyze these systems, the framework, the system wherein those data should be kept. That is one of the foremost important thing. Otherwise, rest to जुगाड़ तो हमेशा ही रहता है.
What about you, Gowdhaman?
Hey, hi. So, for cyber insurance, like it's a kind of health. See, there is even an organization, our CEO asked this question. We came up with a value. On what grounds you're saying this is sufficient for you, right? That's something which is important. That's when I've seen these kind of cyber risk quantification things are really helping you to understand where you lag and what's your strength and what do you have to focus on. Today you have to focus on technology or solution, or it's just an internal policy that you have to be doing it. Those things are really helping you in terms of CFO or the board. It makes sense for us to go and talk to them. Hey, this is the 10 things that I'm going to implement it. But then out of 10 solutions, this is my priority list and this has to be there. If not, it's going to be difficult.
But we are the risk insurer, so we can give the cyber risk assessment to them, and then implementation or no implementation is their KRA. And if they do it, we'll do the reinsurance. Otherwise, we'll not do.
I think that's a due diligence. And I think it's the fine print which is of paramount importance. If you don't read that fine print, the chances are you'll never get any monies back because the fine print does majority of the exclusions as we go forward. But two fundamental revolutions are sweeping India today. One is the Great Indian Vomiting Revolution, where Indians are vomiting data about their personal, professional, social lives online without thinking of the legal ramifications. And the second is the Great Indian Recording Revolution. Everybody seems to be recording something or the other for whatever purposes. So somewhere down the line, we become huge data entities who are generating all kinds of inputs. And we need to be careful lest this particular data gets breached and we land ourselves in a bigger problem. Any other question?
On the Lockbit,
Sir.
there was a ransomware Lockbit gang. Recently, some happening in India, and then few governments have banned Lockbit gang. Anything from the certain where we can take these kind of gang permanently off the suit?
Well, I think technically you'll be able to best answer, but my suggestion is there is no guarantees. I mean, certain does not have the power to pull things down. At best, it's a computer emergency response team under Section 70A of the and 70B of the Information Technology Act. It's only a nodal agency on cyber security. It doesn't have all these kinds of powers of taking down, and assuming we take it down, it at best will only happen within the territorial boundaries of India. It still would be applicable to entities which are located on servers outside the territorial boundaries of India. But there'll be a challenge. Any questions?
Yeah, I think for your question, how much ever we block from a certain or from a government perspective, they're going to change the code and then they're going to come and then they're going to execute in our environment and they're going to say that I am the group that I have executed it. It merely depends on what's the technology that you're using and how are you going to prevent it. And then, see, that's the reason we have got EDR. It's not a signature base anymore. That kind of group is going to come back and then we have to block it. No, that's not going to be the case. They will keep changing the codes and they're going to hit on you. So that's when you have got the latest EDR and things in place that identifies the pattern, not the signature. And if it's abnormal, they're going to stop it and they're going to prevent it. That's the best thing.
You have a question there, please. Can we have a mic that side? Yeah. Your name, please, and to whom the question is addressed to?
So, thank you. My name is Manish Agarwal. Pavan sir, you said that there is a corporate entity and some complainant or some individual or corporate is there whose data has been given to that company and that data has been breached, or that data privacy, DPDP has been, violated. So in that, you said that the when the complaint goes into the litigation, the compensation or the penalty will go to the government consolidated fund of India. So I could not follow that why it will not go to the complainant or the individual or the corporate entity whose data has been breached or privacy has been breached.
Thank you. Two fantastic points that you've raised. Number one, it will go to the government of India only under a particular law, which is known as the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. Because let's celebrate, there's no offense that's been stipulated under the DPDP Act. This is the maximum penalty that they have said. But they have said, look, if we start giving it to complainants, people will start complaining against companies left, right, and center. There'll be misuse happening. So let it come to the government of India, and the government of India can use it for a variety of welfare purposes. That's one. That does not mean that persons who are actually affected cannot seek damages. Under Section 43 of the IT Act, these persons can seek up to 5 crores for certain cases, and other cases you can seek unlimited damages by way of compensation. Although our track record as a country has been very poor in granting damages, just a couple of lakh of rupees is what we've granted damages. I think we need to effectively enforce our laws so as to restore the confidence of the people in the ability of the system to grant them effective remedies. So these are various things that are currently available. Needless to say, there are criminal liabilities, and under the DPDP Act, even you as a data principal can be fined up to 10,000 rupees. So your entry level is a 10,000 rupees fine should you be found to be violating your due diligence parameters for handling, processing your own personal data. So it's an ecosystem that's coming in where, there's an old Punjabi saying that when you are actually, jab aata goonte ho to aap hilte kyun, right? So when you're actually needing the particular dough, why are you moving around? So it's one kind of an ecosystem where you could be faulted at any point of time, not just necessarily by the government, but by any other stakeholder. And the time limit is the next 7 years. So now just think of what new opportunities can exist where companies can be hit below the belt for a variety of personal uses of misuse of the law. But I think we'll have to wait and watch and see more clarifications.
So the complainant will have to file 2 separate remedies under the DPDP Act, like for once it will go to the government, and you said for his own personal, he has to file separately for the damages,
Absolutely.
for recovering the damages.
So if I have to go to a pizza, I'll have to go to the pizzeria and order a pizza. If I have to go to a burger, I'll have to go to a burger shop. So for the complaint under the DPDP, I have to go to the Data Protection Board of India. That's separate. For under the IT Act, I will have to go to the adjudicating officer under Section 46 of the Information Technology Act. These are 2 separate remedies, 2 separate powers, 2 separate legislations, and that's what they are coming up with their appropriate ambits. But very, very interesting. I think, post-19, COVID-19, we are beginning to see a new tsunami coming in. And I see that on the horizon. This is the new tsunami of new big litigation coming in. We are all going to be sucked into litigation. Give yourself the next 12, 18 months. That being so, the idea is, let's try to have a suraksha kavach. Let's try to protect ourselves. हमारे बड़े बुजुर्ग क्या कहा करते थे? भाई तूफान आने वाला है, जमीन पे लेट जाओ. तूफान चला जाएगा, उठ के खड़े हो जाना. So something similar is what you'll have to do. You will have to get your fundamental due diligences in place, get your compliances in place, and that's why the motto of this entire session is very clear. India can neither afford to avoid risk, nor it can afford to avoid compliance per se. That's the nutshell what it is coming up to. The time is up, and I can already see. I want to take this opportunity to thank my 2 fantastic panelists, Gowdhaman and Neelesh, for this perspective. Thank you.
Thank
Over
you.
to
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Can I